Well, good evening, race fans, and thank you so much for tuning in tonight. This is the International Racing League Season 3, Round 4. We are at Silverstone for the British Grand Prix with a sprint start and a one-shot quali to get us underway. I hope you're all doing well and looking forward to some fantastic racing. Like I say, one shot, so we'll be straight into the action. I'll be organising the screen frantically as we get trackside, and we'll talk about championship and everything once we get underway. Round 4 then gets underway here, and it is my home race, the Silverstone site in Northamptonshire, ready for a race and a short sprint as well. My name is Webbo, as you'll probably have gathered from the channel name, and we're here for the round 4 of season 3. 2 races won by Merckx, 1 by Ricky Maru, who unfortunately is missing tonight, as many of our drivers have hightailed off on vacation or holiday times for this summer period, I think. So we will have a condensed grid for you, but I'm sure we will not be missing any action at all as we go to the home of the British Grand Prix and getting trackside any moment for you. I will do my best to try and track either Merckx or Moist, but it tends to be just a game of playing catch-up here from the commentator's perspective through one-shot quali. And, of course, we go straight into the race as well without formation laps. So it is all a little bit frantic, but we will be focusing on whatever we possibly can as soon as we possibly can. But it's great to be back here after a week's hiatus, despite the fact that we're missing a couple of our regular drivers. But it is holiday season. We do have a long season ahead of us as well. This is a 16-race championship, and this is only round 4, so plenty of time for our drivers to get caught up. Although, you have to say, for double champion Maestro Moist, he is going to have some issues here to try and catch up to the likes of Merckx and Ricky Maru, who have had highly successful starts to this season. Ole watching from Budapest, which is fantastic. So we will. I'm not going to do any spoiler chat here, but just cycling through as we go through Abbey and into towards Farm for the first time. It looks like we've got Techno Tim down there at the bottom of the field, but it's Merckx, his teammate, in the Kick Sauber, who is currently fastest right now. So we'll, I'll tell you what, let's have a look at the old telemetry as well quite quickly as we head down the Wellington Straight and into Brooklands. It's Moist who's already managed to pick up a small advantage. Moist typically does incredibly well here in these one-shot quali situations. I'm being told we may get some rain later on into the race as well, but it's Moist leading down the old pit straight and into Copse Corner. Little correction through here, and that allows Merckx to just steal a little march as we head into Maggots and then into Beckett's Corner, before then trying to power out smoothly out of Chapel and down the famous Hanger Straight. Moist still a small delta away here, it seems, from Merckx, who leads us along down and round the Stowe corner and heading down to finish out the lap. Here we go, 2 corners to go. It's Merckx just sliding his way through. Has that given up the potential pole? It has. I think it's going to be Moist who claims in the last 2 corners. Moist claims pole position, and I have been waiting to see Moist back on top, and it looks to be the case. Here comes Moist to try and steal some advantage back into this championship. 19 thousandths of a second on a one-shot quali. ARL was very late to the party today, but he's in 3rd position with Milan, the Belgian driver in the Williams, in 4th place. 2 Englishmen in 5th and 6th in the Haas and McLaren Speedy Spud and Sticky, followed by a Scott, Marco, in the 2nd Aston Martin. We have Techno Tim in 8th, and then we have DSQs from Davy Norris and from PRS. But Moist, our double world champion, back on top here for pole position at what I believe to be his home race. But I don't want to make any assumptions. I believe Moist, this is his home race. I don't think it's going to be anywhere else. But yeah, we are expecting some rain, apparently. Good evening to Peter. watching on a bus to London. So that's awesome. And good for AJ, or ARL as his name is in this game attack here. And he's in third position then for our race, and it has clouded over quite quickly here in the pit lane. So I am expecting to see a little bit of the old typical British weather as we look for the sprint race to gather some World Championship points, reduce World Championship points as well. And let's just see if we get any CrowdStrike adverts on the side of the track, or if if F1 have managed to clear those in this short amount of time. We shall see. Of course, I won't have cleared them from the Mercedes car or TeamWare, but I'm pretty sure CrowdStrike have featured on the side of the track at various points through the race. Let's go then for a sprint race. It's the start of round 4 of the championship. Lights are on. And it's dropped the clutch, and go, and initially Moist away, and there's a cloud of tyre smoke from the back of the in the midfield of the grid, but Moist straight into the lead into Abbey, and trying to boss the first few corners here against Merckx the Merciless. It looks like the Mercedes-powered Williams of Milan up into third position, and it looks like ARL dropping down to 5th at this early stage of proceedings. It's Milan in third place, gaining a position, but Merckx is challenging already. Merckx into Brooklands and being left space here by Moist, who manages to cut back in onto the Woodcut, onto Lovefield and through Woodcut, and just about hold on to the lead. Will he see the entire first lap remain in the lead, as the drivers will be spamming that ERS deployment down the way into Copse corner for the first time, and it is very, very close and tight at the front. It is underneath half a second between the top 3. ARL has dropped down by 2 seconds, as we'll have a quick look then at the tyre situation. Medium tyres for Sticky and for Davy Norris. This could be important later on, but down the hanger straight we come. Looks like Moist forcing Merck to the outside round Stowe corner, and a small correction from Moist, but Merck makes sure that Moist does not hold on to the lead more than 2/3 of a lap, and it is Merck back into the lead. Remember, coming through this last 2 corners in one-shot quali, Merck had a problem. We have only 9 laps around Silverstone for a sprint race, and Merck immediately up into the lead of this race. Fantastic to see him already making up for a small deficit and a tiniest of mistakes in qualifying, but Milan is right up there as well. Small amount of tyre smoke coming off the Williams of Milan. That will help ARL to try and gain a little bit of ground. DRS has been enabled immediately, so Moist is already gaining a few clicks down the Wellington straight here. Around we go towards the old pit complex of the former configuration of this famous racetrack, iconic, some would say, as is the weather around here. But Moist 0.3 of a second only away from Mert at the start of our race. Who else? What else is going on? Well, Milan is in third, ARL is in fourth, and he himself has a 2-second gap out to Sticky. The grid is very much split into 2, and ARL will be desperate to cling on to the lead triplicate here, as Moist 1/4 of a second, and this is not unusual for Moist to give up the lead early on but stay with that leader. And certainly Merckx has not been uncomfortable at the lead of the races. He's typically been fighting with Ricky Maru, but absolutely Moist needs to maximise now from this point onwards in the championship if he is going to retain his double World Drivers' Championship crown, and of course the Aston Martin Constructors' Championship that has been won twice, with the bulk of the points coming from Moist. A lock-up in the background from ARL, who's pushing hard on the soft tyres. It is going to be a small stress for the drivers to get the soft tyres to the end of this sprint qualifying, this sprint race, excuse me. We have changed terminologies now, and down the Wellington Straight and into Brooklands, you could see visibly from this glorious helicopter or drone shot that Moist is gaining on Merckx with the benefit of the DRS. He doesn't get that though on the old pit straight, which is yet to be renamed. We'll see if that becomes the Russell Straight in times to come, or possibly will it be the Norris Straight? We'll see. But into Maggots and Beckett's we go. Merckx leading by 1/4 of a second, not even as they head into Maggots and Beckett's. It looked like Moist might be flirting with track limits, may have picked up a single warning here, and that will be devastating to a hunt for the lead that is so closely fought. Into the Hangar Straight, the possible regen going on here for the Aston Martin, as the red light flashing on the rear of the car might just indicate which battery mode, recovery mode they are in this year. No longer indicates for a guarantee that they are absolutely in the bottom 10% of their ERS deployment. We'll have a look at that later, but I don't want to give the game away. I know many of our drivers listen into live comms, as brave as they are, but there is ARL now slipping out to nearly 3 seconds away from Milan, who is paying a careful and watching brief here on the lead 2 of this sprint race. It is lap 4. We are almost halfway round lap 4, so we're approaching half distance on this sprint race. And it looks like Moist just giving up a little bit of understeer or possibly a wide entry into Luffield and through Woodcut. We'll see if he starts to regain any time thanks to an earlier acceleration out of Woodcut corner. But it looks like he has just dropped a little bit, regaining though through Copse with confidence. And straight back onto the tail. It is ferociously difficult to follow a driver underneath 0.3 of a second through Maggots and Beckett's. One of the most fabulous changes of direction you will see on any four-wheeled vehicle in the world through that complex. And then down into the iconic Stowe corner, scene of many a famous pass. And there's an indication, and that will be interesting to Moist. An indication that perhaps Merckx is pushing hard. A little lockup coming down out of Stowe for the Aston Martin. We do see far more locking up of tyres, though, in this iteration of the game than we have done in years prior. And there again, you saw late apex from Moist, small lockup from Milan, and there is the first penalty. That is for PRS, who's in 9th place at the moment. This is, of course, setting the grid for our feature race, but more importantly, particularly for Moist, this is an important psychological battle between the new man at the top of the standings, Merckx, and the old hand who has 2 World Championships under his belt, the only 2 World Championships here for International Racing League. And Merckx, certainly the newcomer to our season and showing incredibly well at the start of this season 3. Moist, though, staying within 0.3 of a second. Will he elect to try and pounce here on Merckx? We know Merckx has been playing a lot of games with Ricky, legal games, but certainly is not beyond backing a driver into the 3rd place man on the off chance that it can try and disrupt or keep the DRS or make sure that they're certainly under threat. But Ricky missing this week, and I think for 2 more weeks as well, potentially here on vacation, but certainly not forgotten, and he will still be at the head of our championship for at least the duration of this sprint race. Maybe after the sprint race we will see a difference, but that is Merckx then still 1/3 of a second only. Looks like these two have managed to gap Milan, and I don't think Merckx can do much about Moist at this stage. But let's have a look then at telemetry now that we have just 3 laps to go, and for the purpose of the fans who are faithfully tuning in live, you can see the ERS deployment. I'm not going to read it out, like I say, because of the fact that drivers listen in to the chat, but you can see a continued battle here for the lead of the race between the 2 lead runners, and then you can see Milan's status as well on screen. Same with ARL. Techno Tim up to 5th position, has shown very nicely indeed here. He's debuting with us at the moment, and he's up 3 places from his starting place of 8th. We've got PRS up 2, but it's Speedy Spud who has unfortunately had some issues from the start and down 5 positions down into 10th place. But if he can finish, it will be, he'll make sure he is still with us here for the main feature race, and all is far from lost. Remember, soft tyres for the majority of our grid as we run through then to find out who is going to prosper in this sprint. Of course, just the 1 point between first and second position. So Moist, who generally plays a fairly close hand and is quite conservative, Moist might feel like that it is not worth risking for the sake of 1 point to try and make the overtake. But I think he's desperate to get back on to the top step. And of course, Aston Martin very much in need of every point they can get at the moment from the likes of Alfa Romeo, from VCarb, who have been strong as well in the start of our season. I'll talk to you about championship connotations after the sprint. It is lap 7 of only 9 in the sprint, and the fans are loving this. Seeing a battle for the lead that has never stretched beyond, I think, 4.5 tenths of a second throughout the entirety of this sprint. And there we have them just switch back corners through Maggots and Beckett's, and it looks like Moist has more grip at the apex here. I think he might have been keeping something back. Will Moist get the run? It looks like Merckx feels the need to go defensive. Moist draws almost alongside, but is not able to quite sweep around the outside here, but he's signalled his intent, and Merckx has given away something at least to Moist and told him what he is prepared to do, which direction. The fact that he is awake to the threat behind him, and there's fascinating dialogue going on between the body language of these two cars. Merck leads, but one defense was what was necessary at the time, and Moist did not have the overspeed. You'll notice the overspeed difference between the cars depending on how trimmed out the drivers have gone for at the Silverstone Grand Prix. It is possible to make good use of a low downforce setting, but you can equally go for about a medium downforce setting as well. Lots of fast flowing corners in Silverstone. And so PRS moving up as well. He's up 3 places from his starting position into 7th now, as Techno Tim has dropped down. Techno Tim seemingly having some issues, unfortunately, and showing well, but dropping down to 10th now. Let's have a quick check. Is he all intact and okay? Front wing looks all right, looks good. And then is locking up in a big way as well through the grid as he drives around the slower corners of the racetrack. It's lap 8. We are coming down the hangar straight for the penultimate time here in the sprint. Strike's gap to Merckx has opened out slightly, if anything. So it may be that he is going to go all in for this final lap and minimise the chance that Merckx will be able to pounce back and retake the position. But fascinating to see the ERS difference between these two cars on screen at the moment. And will one driver have secured this one better than the other? What I can tell you is that they are roughly even on ERS deployment, at least. So careful management here. And I'm sure now both deploying down the Wellington Straight as we run all the way underneath the bridges and the advertising hoardings. And in we go then into Woodcut into Luffield, and then through into Woodcut past the old hangars with the tin roofs that make a terrible racket if you're sitting underneath. Into Cops now. Moist just 0.3 of a second away, gaining ground. This into Maggots and Beckett's could be all important here. He's close, is Moist. Can he possibly overcome Merckx down the hangar straight? With the advantage of DRS, with the use of ERS deployment as well, he's gaining. He's got an opportunity, but Merckx, I think, has saved enough. Into Stowe corner they go. Merckx just holding on, a trace of understeer, and then a little wiggle there, a little look from Moist on the way into Vale and Club. But coming out of the final corner, Club corner, it's Merckx to win the sprint. It's Moist following incredibly closely, but Merckx, the merciless, takes another race win here for us in the International Racing League. Milan in 3rd, ARL coming home safely, very safely in 4th position. And a big gap out then to Sticky in McLaren, who comes through to finish just ahead of Marco and PRS. those three nailed together there. And then Speedy Spud has a penalty, so we'll lose positions at the death here. It looks like Techno Tim managed to get through as well on his debut with us. And that is 10th position for Speedy Spud. But Merckx and Moist head-to-head all sprint long. Driver of the race was PRS, but this sets us up for a mouth-watering situation for our grid. These are the World Championship points that will be awarded, provisional, of course, but Merckx taking the sprint win from Moist and Milan. As I mentioned, then comes ARL with 5 points for VCarb, while there is just one driver driving for the team at the moment. McLaren take home 4 with Sticky and Marco, meaning that Aston Martin take home 10 points from this sprint. Williams and PRS take home 2, and Kick Sauber 9 points with Techno Tim in the final points paying position with Davey Norris and Speedy Spud all in close proximity. We will have the race coming up for you very soon. I'll keep an eye for the indication of how long the break will be for everybody, but I will let you know how things are running in the championship shortly. Just give me a moment to organise my my screen here. In the Drivers' Championship, we have Ricky Maru is on top and clear by 12 points at the moment, having raced 3 times to Merckx 1, having won once to Merckx twice, and 2 second places as well from Ricky Maru. So Merckx with 2 wins, 2 poles. Obviously, that changes slightly, but these are the points prior to the sprint race. 62 for Ricky Maru, 50 for Merckx, AJ on 33, Ole on 28 with Milan on 20. Alpha Alex and Speedy Spud have 18 each. Moist, the double champion, on 16. Then comes Leon on 12 points, and Entronsic, Floyd and Jay all on 10 points. And let's talk to you a little bit about the Constructors' Championship as well. So we have VCarb on 95, then a long big gap out to Kick Sauber on 50. In third place, Haas on 30, just 1 point ahead of McLaren in fourth. Williams have 27 points in fifth place. We have Aston Martin on 19th. The double World Constructors Champions Aston Martin on 19 points only and on 6th position. Then we have Ferrari, Red Bull on 14 points, Mercedes and Alpine joint 9th on 0 points yet, but very few drivers have appeared for those teams. So looks like we have one-shot quali once again. Is that correct? Certainly, it seems like that's the situation. We've got some retirements coming in. I think the drivers will now retire, because it looks like the lobby has set itself up for this. ARL has retired, but I'm going to call what I see. And if I see some competitive driving going, then I'm going to call it. Here is Moist down the Wellington Straight then. So I am expecting to see some action further on, but it looks like we're going to mix up the qualifying order here. Rather than let the sprint set the grid, it's going to be Moist at the head of the field. Merckx all the way down in 9th right now and has invalidated his lap. That's huge for our race. It's also huge for our double world champion Moist, who is currently leading this particular quali situation. Marco is in 2nd place. Aston Martin currently with the provisional front row here. AJ ARL is caught out here, as perhaps I have to suggest I was caught out as well. Was not expecting one-shot quali for the race as well, but that's probably my fault, so my apologies, folks. But I hadn't realised that had been a rule change, as Moist then comes through into the final 2 corners. I think he's going to claim the pole position for our feature race. Across the line he goes, and he's ahead of Milan. He's ahead of Spud, who qualifies in 3rd, I believe, as well. And then we'll have ourselves a quick break, I believe. If it's going to happen on any week, it is probably good for our drivers that it happened when we have 10 drivers showing up. ARL, Sticky and Merckx unable to complete laps, but Milan and Moist will start this race on the front row. How about Moist advantage there? 3/4 of a second is pretty huge. With Speedy Spud and PRS in third and fourth, we have Marco for Aston Martin, who brought the car home at 1.1 seconds away from the lead. But in fifth place, then comes Davy Norris, and Techno Tim ARL will start on the fourth row, with the fifth row and final row taken by Sticky and by Merckx. Here we go, folks. It's time for the race. It's going to be Moist on top and in front of the Williams, and it's drop the clutch and go, go, go. Moist then for the 26th lap feature race of round 4 of the championship, gets himself ahead and into familiar territory for anyone who saw season 1 and 2. Moist, the maestro, back on top of an International Racing League race, and it's Merckx already moving forward. You can see the Kick Saubers in 6th and 7th on the timing screens at the moment, with Sticky very closely following behind as well. But it is going to be Moist and Milan stretching themselves slightly here, straight away from Speedy Spud. Soft tyres for Moist and Milan. They're going to go for softs and mediums, or softs and hards, depending on the prevailing degradation today. Moist 0.6 of a second already ahead of Milan, who has 0.6 himself ahead of Speedy Spud. Then comes Marco, Davy Norris, Techno Tim in 6th place, Merckx in 7th. Then we got Sticky, BRS and ARL at the back, thanks to, and no small parts of forgetting or having, I think he said something about a calibration mode, and I think he was perhaps still running that calibration mode, because he's 6 seconds off the back of P9 at the moment. But ARL with it all to do and starting on medium tyres, so no real advantage for ARL. I'd much prefer to see ARL and Merckx moving through the field together, but Moist leads at the end of lap 1. It's Moist and Milan half a second separated, but further back we have Davy Norris trying to hold off Merckx the Merciless, but straight away into Abbey goes Merckx into 5th place, and it's looking very good for Merckx already. He has moved up from the very back of the grid up to halfway through the field. He now has Moist's teammate of Marco in 4th ahead of him. It looks like Milan is challenging Moist straight away into Brooklands for the second time of asking here in the feature race. Purple sector for Milan, as Marco will soon have Merckx coming up behind, and Speedy Spud in that 2nd place certainly has Marco right with him as well. Here is Marco following in the wheel tracks of the Haas driver Speedy Spud, as Merckx then is trying to catch that group. But it's Milan versus Moist. It's all the M's tonight: Marco, Merckx, Milan and Moist. Enough for a commentator's tongue to get twisted as we get through Maggots and Beckett's with the lead pair. Their gap to 3rd place, 2.6 seconds. Immediately Milan strikes and moves into the lead at the end of the final sector of lap 2. Milan in the lead, but this is not unfamiliar for Moist. Doesn't panic too quickly, and is usually there or thereabouts come the end of the race. Quite happy, I think, if Milan is going to scrub his tyres to this degree. Look at Merckx already up to 4th, has passed Marco into Stowe, and he's already right on the back of the Haas of Speedy Spud. Merckx is certainly in a hurry here, and in fact Spud putting up a staunch defence into Farm Corner, and now hugging the inside line. Looks like Merckx is going to have the opportunity to get the power down on the lower grip edge of the loop on the way through the Aintree link back onto the Wellington straight. Right round the outside goes Merckx. This is just devastating pace from Merckx, and he's got 2.7 seconds. He's on the medium tyre. Techno Tim moves past PRS down for 7th position, but Milan straight into the lead ahead of Moist, and let's see how quickly Merckx can pick up the pace and pick up the positions here and get onto the back of the lead pair. We ride on board the edge of the halo of Moist as we go through Maggots and Beckett's, and we go slightly over the white line through Chapel as well. Fantastic picture here right at the very end of the Hangar Straight as we zoom out slightly to take in the entry of Stowe Corner as well and sweep through. Moist will know and be very careful and cognizant of the gap back to Merckx, who now he's made his passes. I think Merckx has to harvest some energy Let's have a quick cheeky look at the telemetry for Merckx. He's doing well, isn't he? For someone who's come up from the back to third place at the start of lap 4, he's doing pretty well on his deployment. But talking of deployment, here is Moist in second place, and I think not quite happy with the pace of Milan. He's certainly getting dangerously close to the back, and heading down the Wellington Straight we go again, under the bridge, on the main access route in from the main road on the exit of the Silverstone perimeter into the infield across that Wellington Straight, and then around we go. A long looping corner with many lines is the Luffield corner, as we then blitz through Woodcut and through Copse Corner, maybe a metre or so away from the apex for Moist that time. That will be the dirty air taking effect for him. You can just about spot in the very start of Beckett's. If you have a look on the very inside of the start of Beckett's, I'll talk about that again in a minute. Round the outside he comes, Moist, and straight into the lead of the race. Here he goes, 0.3 of a second in the lead, and I'll try next time we see that. But look out for a tiny little green painted building on stilts on the inside of the first part of Beckett's. And I'll talk more about that later on when we come through. But Moist back into the lead, and he is very aware of the challenge and the threat of Merckx. He's followed Merckx all the way through the sprint, and looks like Moist in a hurry now to stay ahead of Merckx. As we see some action further back, we see Speedy Spud having to hold off the second of the Aston Martins as they run through here. Here comes Marco, 0.2 of a second away. Of course, DRS available. Looks like he's got some ERS profit as well. And round the outside goes Marco, giving perhaps slightly too much room on the inside, but he gets the inside line for the next right-hander as well. And through. Wow, Speedy Spud with a massive tank slapper. Suddenly goes ghosted as well. I wonder what that's about. Did he accidentally hit the pause button as he runs through the corner there? A big snap of oversteer. Looks like the car recovered well enough, but Speedy Spud down to 6th place. Davy Norris in the Alpine then up to 5th place, and right still on the tail of Marco. A little bit further back we have PRS in 7th and Techno Tim right with him as well. And I'm sure that Kick Sauber looks and looms large in the mirrors with its neon green livery. And further back we have Sticky and ARL, who's gained 4 seconds on Sticky from the start of the race. But quite what happened to ARL, I need to find out later on. I know he listens in, and I'm sure he's dying to tell me if he can type fast enough. He sometimes does it while he's in the pits. But this is the battle then over 4th position. We're looking at Spud at the tail of this three-way battle. But it looks like Davy Norris, the man most likely, as Milan has latched onto the back of Moist, and Merckx still consolidating, still harvesting here at this stage, as he's still 1.6 seconds away. But it looks like we might have a challenge coming up towards the lead of the race as well, as into Luffield and Woodcut go the leaders for the 6th time at speed here in the feature race. And Moist rear rain light flashing as he goes into Copse as well. Has Moist actually used an uncharacteristic amount of ERS? Well, you can draw your own conclusions while you watch live. I won't say anything either way, but certainly looks like the front two are pushing hard. And out of Chapel, getting a great drive comes Milan, and he retakes 1st place. Back into the lead goes Milan. Exactly what we want to see, and we see this time and time again at IRL here. We see changes for the lead over and over again. I remember season 2 at the British Grand Prix, where we just had lap after lap of relentless lead changes. But looks like Moist just struggling to keep the temperatures in the car. I think those soft tyres are starting to feel uncomfortable for Moist. The first of the soft tyre pit stops comes in, and it's PRS into 8th place. This is a little bit ahead of schedule. This is a little bit ahead of the schedule that we saw in the sprint race. It was only 9 laps old, but of course they didn't have full tanks of fuel for the sprint race. They would have the minimum required fuel levels, but Merckx is right with Moist here, and Moist really needs to keep that DRS on the back of the Williams in order to defend from Merckx, who he fought so valiantly with in the sprint race here. The only advantage Moist has got over Merckx in the championship is that Merckx has had one fewer races, but Moist is down in the standings, notwithstanding that situation. So he has to start outscoring both Merckx and Ricky Marou. It's a slam dunk on Ricky Marou here, but it's about Merckx now, who will take the lead of the championship. And there is Moist, again, pushing incredibly hard through Maggots, Beckett's and Chappell. And it looks like he has to feign an attack. Does he into Stowe, just to use a little bit of defence as well? And will we see any pit stops from the lead two? Not yet, despite the fact that they are struggling with these tyres. And of course, it's going to be advantage Merckx later. He's going to have a couple of laps to run and overcut these drivers, and then he's going to have soft tyres at the end of the race as well. With 9 or 10 to go, Merckx should be in a fantastic position, as this looks incredibly, ferociously close. That is Moist then picking up his first set of time penalties on the track. That is very unusual for Moist, and it is great to see him being pushed to this extent. No contact between Moist and Merckx, as Moist avoided disaster there, climbing over the apex curb and picking up that penalty on the car. It may have been 2 warnings in one for going over the apex curb for him, but that means that it is a disadvantage, of course, to Moist, who has a 3-second penalty on the car. The other 2, one in front, one behind, can relax a little bit here now, knowing that Moist has a penalty, and they can just focus on staying clean. And Moist is struggling. Moist surely has to pit, as out of Chappell they come. He's even defending on the exit of Chappell, as Merckx then screams his way past. Even though both have DRS, Merckx with a fantastic exit out of Chappell. Moist scything across the field, but Moist does not pit here. He's not happy, and in fact, Milan locking up caused Merckx to have to brake unusually heavily and take avoiding action into Vale and Club. And just when it was looking like this was all going Merckx's way, they avoid disaster, but Moist is back into second position. Great positioning from all 3 drivers there, avoiding disaster. It's a shame not to see the Williams with its British Grand Prix special livery on board. But you can't have everything. I thought that was one of the best of the recent special liveries, that Union Jack effect on the engine cover. And just getting tucked back up again is Moist, just 2.5 tenths of a second away. Fantastic racing here at the International Racing League Season 3, to have 3 drivers gunning here for a potential feature race win. We had 2 drivers, either of whom could have taken the sprint, but now we have 3. I fear that in the pit stop sequence, Merckx might get an advantage, but you can see Moist desperate to get the slipstream. Now he's on the defensive. He turns to the inside. In fact, he turns defense into offense. Down the inside, back to the outside, sweeps back to the apex, does Moist, and into the lead of the race. Feigns a trip to the pits this time, and then you can see down into the slowest corner on the track, Vale. Again, like in the last lap, Milan struggling to break the car right down to the required speed. I say the slowest corner, maybe that's in fact farm, but certainly I think the longest braking zone is the one down into Vale, the penultimate corner. And now a new order of the race. It's Moist, Merckx and Milan in that order. Speedy Spud is in 4th, with Davy Norris just 1/4 of a second ahead of Marco for 5th and 6th. And as response says, Silverstone order always delivers, and Merckx delivering another overtake for the lead now. From the back of the grid, Merckx on lap 10 takes the lead of the race, and he has a tyre advantage on the medium tyre as well. Great to see respond as well. Always a faithful viewer, and always great to see you I know you're always there watching and commenting as well. So fantastic. Into Maggots and Beckett's we go. Riding those curbs actually really well, the Aston Martin, but over the white line again. I think Moist might be about to pick up another penalty here. He's clearly pushing incredibly hard. Desperate is the Maestro to take his first feature race win of this season 3. Now that's interesting to see Merckx lighting up the tyres as well. Jay says, where are all the drivers? Jay, we're ignoring that for now. One of them's on a bus. One of them is in Budapest, at very least. So we need... Tell me that Floydie has not got a 4th online name here, and it's actually Peter. Floydie, please change all of your online IDs to the same thing so that I know who I'm talking about in 2. But then we've got Merckx against Moist against Milan. Less than a second separating the top 3 still. As Peter says, yet again, he's found another account to log in on. But those are your top 3, Merckx, Moist and Milan. The only other M in the field is Marco in 6th place. He is just behind Spud and Davy Norris, with Techno Tim, a 4-way battle for 4th place as well. Here we go. Great to see these drivers pushing each other to new heights, to new levels of pace here at the British Grand Prix. Speedy Spud, Davy Norris, Marco and Techno Tim in the midfield, no less hard fought back there. And in fact, we've got ARL, who was at the back of the grid, started, I think, late, 6 seconds down, almost like a pit lane start. Here's an overtake then. Davy Norris round the outside. Will he hold it? Yes, fantastic one from Davy. That is Captain Nike, our pilot, our sim pilot from the previous season. He did all the logistics for us. And Techno Tim into the pits off the medium tyre before a couple of the drivers have come in off the softs. Moist has come in though, and he has fitted now the hard tyres. So he has got what he wanted, new set of hard tyres. That's a long way for any mediums to go. Milan with a difficult decision to come. He's lost the DRS gap from Merckx, and now he's got that tricky decision to come. Here then is Davy Norris against Spud for what is now 3rd place on the grid. The medium starters certainly enjoying this stint of the race here, and lighting up those tyres once again into Brooklands and into Lovefield and through Woodcut now. Lots of tyre smoke on the track. Merckx leads from Milan by 3/4 of a second, with Moist putting in the laps now on the hard tyre. Soft to hard went Moist. Will the medium drivers be able to go through until roughly lap 15 and run a 10 or 11 lap stint on the softs, or will they be forced onto the hard tyre and give up the advantage that they have had being on the harder compound and the favoured medium tyre here? Just behind these 3, battling over 4th place, you can also see ARL, and you can see Sticky. Might need to start working together, Sticky and ARL, to come up into this battle for 4th, net 4th effectively. That was very late and very wide at the apex from Speedy Spud. Davy Norris with the wind in his sails, almost with the front wing at the back of the diffuser of the Haas, who goes completely sideways, and it looks like the medium tyres are letting go at the halfway point of the race quite dramatically here. Brilliant to see the drivers fighting and hanging on for grim death round the corners and under traction. Massive snap from Speedy, and we have Davy Norris in 4th, Marco in 5th place, ARL in 6th place in the V-Carb, and coming in to challenge for 5th is he. He's fully alongside, taking advantage of that slow down section. Oh, it's Marco spinning a tiniest of spins, but he's ruining the Rolex paintwork on the inside of Brooklands and Lovefield. But Marco down to 7th, so ARL from the back of the grid as well. 6.6 seconds was his deficit to 9th place at the start of the race. And we want to see a race where ARL can bring himself forward. Can he get these medium tyres all the way to the soft tyre window? That's just a couple more laps now for him. Milan has yet to pit. He's going to try and fit the mediums at the end, as Merckx has pitted before Milan. No, they've pitted on the same lap. So that is fascinating. What will Merckx do here? Can he risk a 12, 13 lap racing speed lap on the medium tyres? Merckx is in first position. Milan now in dropping down the order. Merckx has gone into 6th place, 7th place, and onto the medium tyre from the softs at the start. ARL doing a great job here on these medium tyres. As we're discussing train times in the live chat, I will try not to comment on that. We have a bit of a DRS train here in for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th for the drivers. Marco just hanging on the back here. That's a challenge from ARL down the inside into Brooklands, but Davy Norris hanging on nicely to the inside line, just defending well, but surely a matter of time here for ARL to get past. Tucking up into the slipstream, small defence on the way into Copse Corner, and then we'll ride on board with the V-Carb of ARL. V-Carb leading this championship thanks to the efforts of Ricky Maru and of ARL, but ARL having to take the mantle of the solo V-Carb driver for this week, next week, and possibly even the week after. As you heard the beep, that means the DRS is in operation. Merckx leads 14 lap old mediums into lap 15, and Davy Norris spears his way into the pit lane. We are just about on the window, on the bubble for the soft tyres to be fitted now. ARL from the back of the grid up to 3rd place, and some 0.7 of a second away from net 2nd, but a decent gap out to the leader. Where is Moist right now? He is in 5th, net 2nd position, but can he perform an absolute miracle undercut here on Merckx? Soft tyres to start for Moist, onto the hard tyres. Moist tends to like using the hard tyres, tends to like absolutely thrashing the car on hards rather than have to tiptoe around on a medium or a soft for the bulk of the race. But will Merckx be able to wait until he can afford to fit the softs? Light on fuel. The softs should go 12 to 13 laps comfortably, but will they go the full 15 that I think Merckx is planning to push them? This is Moist then. We've got ARL just half a second away from 2nd on the road at the moment. No pit stops for the front 4. We'll see. Of course, Moist will move forward. So will Milan, who is right on the tail of Moist as well. And they could do with not racing each other right now, but it looks like Milan has not got that particular communication. He's busy challenging, pressuring Moist. These two in net 2nd, possibly in 1st, depending on pit stops. Merckx is in the pits and has now fitted soft tyres, so he's going to go 10 full laps on the soft tyre as ARL Speedy Spud have gone through. Let's see then from the perspective of Moist. You'll see, I think, there is Merckx coming out, and Moist screams through and past, and so does Milan, but soft tyres, so it is absolutely essential for Merckx that he pounces now. Milan has gone soft to mediums. If Moist can hold position for a few laps, he will be in an advantageous position in the final 5 laps of this race. But already, it looks like Milan drawing alongside and down the Wellington Straight, and straight away making complete mockery of what I've just said. Milan goes through, so does Merckx into Woodcut. Into Lovefield and into Woodcut. Merckx is now in 2nd position, and Moist has dropped 2 places within a sector of the racetrack, but down the inside into Copse he goes. He's got the nose ahead. Will they come to contact? They do touch ever so slightly, and Merckx is forced slightly wide, but it did appear from the helicopter camera that Moist had that corner to himself. Is this advantage Milan, the only driver of these 3 without a 3-second penalty now? Wow, What a sequence, and beautifully captured from the helicopter camera as well. I can claim nothing on that. Merck takes the position back again from Moist. And of course, he's got the soft tyres at the moment, but Moist can afford to play this slightly carefully. But they've both got to pressurise Milan into picking up a 3-second penalty. Fascinating stuff. And ARL is still out there on the medium tyres. No one has made the mediums last longer. He's on 16 lap olds, and he's going to guarantee for himself a good, strong finish. But Merckx almost pushing the Williams through and round farm. Is he too impatient? He's got a slow corner around the loop. And onto the Wellington straight we go. Response says 3 different compounds for the win is great to see. Absolutely. This is Silverstone at its absolute best as Merckx is in second place now, takes the lead. These are the net podium positions we're looking at. All respect to ARL for a fantastic race to this point, but he is not going to feature on this podium because he still has a pit stop to make unless we are going to get rain. And there was a mention of a rain prediction in this race as well. We will see. 9 laps to go then for the drivers, and already Merckx making full use of those soft tyres. He is desperate to try and get some DRS on the back of ARL and gap both Milan and Moist out of the DRS zone, but they've got it for this portion of the lap at least. Merckx, can he get on and away? Now Merckx just goes over the white line slightly. Moist has to try and force the issue with Milan, and into the pits, locking up all 4 tyres comes ARL as well. It is all going on here in the race as Merckx now picks up a new fastest lap, and of course now ARL is dropping down out of contention for the podium positions right now. No rain to speak of, no real sunshine either, I have to say, but braking heavily into the corner. Merckx is locking up because he knows this is crucial. If he can hold off the DRS from the drivers, he knows he's actually got to build a 3-second net gap to Milan as well. Until such point as Milan picks up a penalty, that is absolutely essential. Can I be really cheeky here? I'm going to do it. I'm going to have a look and race director and see what Milan has got. Has he got any warnings on the car? He has not. So Milan is absolutely in the pound seats here. He has to stay within 3 seconds of Merckx. That should come to him later in the stint. That is very rare of me and very naughty of me to cut away from the action for a moment, but it's really important to know how many warnings Milan has got. Here comes Moist then with the DRS. Milan quite happy because if they can play a DRS do-si-do kind of game together and work together to come up towards Milan, to come up towards Merckx even, then they will be in a better position overall. But there it's gone out to 3 seconds from Merckx, who picks up a new fastest lap of the race. They have got to get on with it, these two, and they will know exactly what they need to do here. They both need to pick up points on Merckx, so they have to indicate to each other somehow that they're going to work together. They are all in a race chat on Discord together. It is super busy in the midfield as well, as David Norris leads Speedy Spud for 4th and 5th. ARL, who's now on soft tyres, the newest soft tyres on the grid, back up into 6th place, and he has done some overtaking today, has ARL. I think he'll certainly be in for a shout of driver of the day, although Merckx also started at the back here, just messing up that one-shot quali for the feature race. Didn't hurt him too much. We probably needn't even bother with qualifying if this is what is going to happen. Here comes Spud then to the outside on the way into Brooklands. What an absolutely fantastic British Grand Prix we have had here at the International Racing League. Again, Season 2 was similar. If you want to, go back and watch it. It was an absolute banger. Moist! Oh no, Moist picks up his second 3-second penalty and counts himself out of a chance for victory today. I don't want to speak too soon, but that does look almost certain. Moist in 3rd place now has 6 seconds of penalties. Remember, ARL is on the freshest tyres of this group, and he will hope, I think he'll have dreams here of finishing no further back. Three wide into Stowe corner. ARL chose the best position onto the right hand of the circuit. Through Stowe they go. Looks like a great over-under from Speedy Spud, but ARL with the just slight grip advantage at this stage hangs on. What a sequence. If I had a replay button, I would be mashing it right now. What a great sequence from these drivers. Phenomenal racing respect on track as well. That's a brilliant overtake for both Speedy Spud and for ARL moving up as well. And now they're going to get tangled as Davey Norris pulls out of the move so that they don't crash. And again, great respect here in the International Racing League. I have to say, this has been an absolute pleasure to join this league in recent months, because on track these guys are just phenomenal racers. ARL is in 4th place now from the back of the grid. Also from the back though is Merckx as Strike and Milan go side to side through and into Stowe corner. Moist back into the lead, but his gap is 6 seconds plus 6 here right now. And I think it's important if we have a look at those penalties. 6 seconds Moist wears. Has Milan's challenge now faded? Are the medium tyres now starting to fade on board? I'm going to go back to tyres because it's hard to remember, but can Moist start to reel in Merckx? Personally, it's looking unlikely now. Merckx, once he's managed to gap Moist and Milan, does look, well, he's got almost the length of the Wellington straight ahead, and even with some soft tyre deg at the end of the race, 5 laps to go we have, but even with that deg to come, I don't know that Moist can overcome the gap, even to take the win on the road, I think. And he may decide to try and appeal any of those track limit warnings. It'd be rare to get a track limit warning rescinded because it tends to be pretty accurate in the sim platform here on F1 24. The F1 series, one of the strengths has been track limits. I say one of the strengths, maybe the only strength, I'm not sure. But Moist is looking a little bit leery through Maggots and Beckett's. Will Milan strike back on the way into Stowe? Absolutely he will. Down the inside he goes. Moist is going to try and hang out on the outside. And a big defence from Milan into Vale and through Club Corner. Goes Milan back into 2nd place. But he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to overcome the 3-second penalty that Merckx has got. Side by side into Abbey. That could go wrong for these two. But giving enough room, that means that the Aston Martin gets the nod down the inside into Farm. Through the loop they go, side by side again. Brilliant stuff from Milan and from Moist. They will be loving this in the cockpits from their various positions. They will absolutely love this to go side by side with other drivers. That is where the heart rate goes through the roof. That is where the brilliant respect, but unfortunately it is costing them, as Respond rightly points out that Merckx is slamming these tyres now. He's trying to break the spirit of these two, but while they battle with each other going side by side, they are effectively losing out to Merckx. But maybe they're already thinking, do you know what, we can't catch them at the moment. I don't want to cut away from this, but ARL is in 4th. He's got Speedy Spud just half a second behind. That gap in the midfield starting to spread out now. Techno Tim is debuting with us at the tail of the field, only 2.6 seconds away, and Milan goes down the inside into Stowe. He likes that move. He really does, and you have to say Moist leaving the door open, and he's going down the inside into Vale, and as they switch back into Club, he tried the cutback, but I think he just touched the rear of the Williams. I don't think he's picked up any damage on the front wing. He won't be entirely confident as he goes through Abbey. And again down the inside and looking for an opportunity, starting to look a little bit desperate. I have to say, from Moist, as he tries to make these moves. Milan hanging on. He's got some traction advantage, got a little bit of mid-corner grip advantage on the medium tyres right now as Moiskin, using the ERS deployment and the DRS, retakes second place on the road. I don't know what your feeling is in the chat here, but you often wonder sometimes whether drivers get a little bit miffed at someone who's fighting this hard when they already wear a penalty. But what I say is you have to race on the road, because you never know what the stewards are going to say post-race. You have to race in front of you what you can see. And at the moment, Moist is just doing everything he can to finish second on the road. Looks like it's going to be academic. He is wearing a 6-second penalty right now. ARL, 18 seconds. He's gained a second on these two, but I think it will be too little, too late. Merckx is miles away, you have to say, and living up to his new nickname I've just given him of Merck the Merciless. He is 11.8 seconds in front. Peter's saying, I never trust the softs, but if you can make them work after 7 laps, then kudos to you. Well, they made them last 9 in the sprint on lower fuel loads, but yeah, some drivers are hoping to get 10 or 11 out of the softs, so that is adventurous. Yes, on light fuel loads, but still, this is the battle then. For second on the road, Milan still having not picked up a single penalty. Hats off to him. Same with ARL, Speedy Spud, David Norris and Sticky. I have to say, it's not an easy track. That looked like for a moment on track there that the braking marker board had been censored out. I don't know if you saw that, but on the run down Wellington Straight, it looked like the braking marker board had been censored with pixels, as if there was some rude image on it. But maybe I'm just seeing things and going a bit crazy here. I'm into my 6th hour of commentary this weekend, so I might be going a little bit stir crazy. It's Merckx leading by 12.8 seconds. That's right, despite the fact that he barely led by a 10th or even a 100th of that in the sprint race. In the second half of the feature race, he has stretched out his lead. Yes, it's +3. But it's only +3 to Moist's +6 seconds of penalties. As ARL reels them in, and had this race gone longer, ARL would definitely have been there. Had he also been able to start a little bit more on time as well, and maybe not had a calibration issue on his wheel as well. It has been a bit of a cluster problem situation for ARL tonight. To come home with 4th in the feature, I think after all those dramas, he'll be pretty happy overall. I'd love to know what happened at the start, though, before the end of the coverage, if we can. ARL, if you are listening, here comes Milan around the outside. Moist defending to the inside. Oh, it's happened. They have come to blows eventually on the penultimate lap, but Moist hung on just about. A little sideways moment there, but phenomenal car control from Moist. They touched. He spun slightly, certainly pitched the car to oversteery into Brooklands, but he held on okay, and he's still right with Milan. I think Moist might be looking at an appeal to the stewards for one of these penalties at least. I'm not sure he's happy to settle for 3rd on the road here at all. But it looks like it's going to be Merckx, Milan and Moist. But it is still going to be pretty tight behind them, as now Merckx starts the final lap of the race, and Moist still hounding and hassling Milan for 2nd place. Milan will still be enjoying this, I think. He might be starting to wonder about whether Moist is a little bit too desperate for a result. But 3rd is definitely going to be better than a DNF for Moist. Surely he can't now hope for any better than 3rd, because Milan has no penalties on the car at all. Peter's enjoyed this one. I'm glad to see it, as Merckx is in the lead. And he's coming through Copse Corner at this stage. Peter catching the next bus. Okay, no sleeper LNER train for you from London up to Scotland. It's buses all the way, is it? Well, see you soon, and thank you for tuning in. nonetheless, here they are then. Second and third positions into Cop's corner they go. Small wiggle from the Aramco-sponsored Aston Martin, and he gets the nod ahead. But Merckx is coming through Stowe corner for the final time tonight. Keeps it level, keeps it flat on the grid. Little lock up as he goes over the small bump on the way into the braking zone for Vale corner. But Merckx wins race 3, his third race and race 4 of the championship. 3 from 4 for Merckx. Absolutely peerless. I guess 4 from 5 if you count the sprint. Wow, as Moyes goes 2 wheels in the air to finish out this race. He'll cross the line, but Milan will take second and Moyes third. What's happening between Speedy Spud and ARL? Has ARL underfueled perhaps, or has he gone off the circuit? It looked like ARL was going to have fourth absolutely nailed on, but Speedy Spud has caught him in the end. Here comes the Haas driver to cross the line ahead of ARL. I'm going to need a full race report, ARL, but on the final lap, he gets overhauled by Speedy Spud. Sticky crosses the line in 6th place. We have Davey in 7th and Marco in 8th. And just behind them, we have PRS, who takes that 8th position off Marco thanks to penalties. Techno Tim will be the final finisher to pick up his first World Championship points here for the International Racing League, debuting with us right now. But Merckx, the merciless, 3 feature race wins plus a sprint win from 4 rounds of racing. Great stuff to see. I'll give you your official and provisional results, but you've got time, AJ, to give us a full race report. What happened? Why 6 seconds in the deficit from the start here? And how did you lose that position on the last lap to Speedy Spud? We're all dying to know. Merckx, the official driver of the day, and you have to say, very difficult to argue with that one. 2 wins, including 1 last to first challenge for Merckx. Fantastic stuff from him. We wait for those provisional results and, of course, the podium. And I will check out the driver chat room as well. Just make sure we're not losing any info here to see. But, yeah, just some congratulations coming in for the drivers. Merckx living up to that new nickname. I hope the drivers don't mind me giving nicknames, but he's waving the Union flag here. AJ says he had contact with Merckx into turn 1. The Williams backed out, so he had to move away and had the slightest of touches. Is it biased of me to suggest the best trophy of the year, the British Grand Prix Winners' Trophy? I know the Hungarian is iconic, but frankly, it's a little bit naff. Can I say that? Is that okay? But the traditional gold trophy of the Winners' Trophy for the British Grand Prix there for Merckx, and he'll be pleased enough to see lots of GGs coming in the driver chat. No drama, I see, from anybody. So I can't report on any beef in the driver chat. I'd love to, but at this stage I can't. I'm waiting for my provisional results. Where are they going to come? You saw it through the grid, so if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But looks like we're going to go straight back into the lobby screen again and lose our provisional results. Sorry, folks, you saw it as I read it out. So if you're in doubt, just rewind the stream and press pause. But thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate everybody's engagement today. Thank you for liking the video today and for subscribing. My name's Webbo. This is the International Racing League. It's Season 3, Round 5 coming up next week of 16. But until then, thank you for watching, and we will catch you on the next race day.